What's going on, everybody? This is Randall Barnes, the founder of HBCU Post and the host of HBCU Post Radio, in the building for another edition of the show on today, a special edition of the show where we're talking about the news that's shaking up the sports world of Deion Sanders possibly in conversations to become the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys. Him and Jerry Jones have talked, and according to reports from multiple sources, there's mutual interest. So we had to hop on and do this show. I got Arielle in the building. We really a team today because we both got on all black. You know what I'm saying? We're unified in this. Like we ride it. We got all black. Oh, we on timing right now. How you doing today, Arielle?
I'm doing good. We're unified in trying to kill the Cowboy career of Deion Sanders. I'm gonna join the boat with you. They gonna hate us when we say this. I personally think not both that he's not mentally ready. He may be physically ready, and Deion knows the NFL, but I don't think he's there just yet as a coach. Nor do I think the fit is the Cowboys, to be honest.
Yeah. So let's just go and hop into it. So Deion Sanders, like why we're talking about it is because of the fact that Deion, of course, he started off his coaching career at an HBCU. See, in September 2020, he became the head coach of Jackson State University. He coached his first season in the spring of 2021 because COVID canceled the 2020 season for HBCU, specifically in the SWAC. So for some programs in the SWAC, including Jackson State, they played in 2021. He coached his first season in the fall of 2021. You got Shador in there doing this thing. Travis Hunter comes to Jackson State in 2022, and Travis Hunter was injured that 2022 year, but he made his mark, and especially in that Celebration Bowl when he got that touchdown that helped in tying the game going into overtime against North Carolina Central. So listen, I also got Travis Hunter, former HBCU player that's won a Heisman. So this is very much so still an HBCU story, and Deion, HBCU is a part of it. You know, it's just a part of it. So even though he's been gone, and he's the Colorado guy now, it's still our story to talk about, you know? So that's why we're talking about it today. And also, Arielle and I started off doing this sports version of HBCU Post Radio in 2021 as an NFL podcast. Like we were largely talking about the NFL. We segued into the NBA a little bit, but largely we were talking about the NFL until we started talking about HBCU football and also just other things around the football diaspora. So we're getting back to our roots, okay? Like I said, we're in all black, we on timing. So I got to start with Arielle here, right? Because I had to get that disclaimer of, why y'all still talking about Deion? He ain't at Jackson State no more. Like, they always say that. So that's why we're talking about it. So I want to toss to you, Arielle. So what do you think? You already gave us a teaser, okay? So what do you think about Deion Sanders possibly in conversations to, not confirmed, but he might become, there's a chance he becomes the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys?
I mean, like, to your point, there are a lot of professional players and a lot of retired players now that come from HBCUs, no matter if they transfer. So HBCU bound, HBCU bred, you're gonna be HBCU dead. So we're always gonna talk about him. So it doesn't even matter. He's in HBCU history. So we always have something to talk about with him. Like I said, I personally don't think that he is ready to take on this big of a role with the Cowboys on both ends. The Cowboys have had numerous salary cap problems. You're still trying to work out if Dak Prescott is going to be continuing as your quarterback. You lost some of your really good weapons to trades over the past couple years. And then you also got Jerry Jones. He's a little iffy in the situation when it comes to drafting, how they draft well, who their coaches are. They just got rid of Mike McCarthy. So there's been problems within that system of just how stabilized it's going to be and how much room that Deion Sanders is going to have to work with and what he is going to do for that team. Outside of him trying to join, the Cowboys entire franchise and that team has obstacles to work out for themselves. On Deion's side of the ball, if he does go to the Cowboys, Deion has so much freedom and what he wants to do when it comes to the transfer portal, when it comes to recruiting, having really great coaches around him from 2020 and bringing up TC Taylor to what he has now and his offensive coordinator. The Colorado Buffaloes have looked really, really well these past 2 seasons, coming from a losing season before he got there, bringing up attendance, bringing up games, almost making playoffs both times. It's been really good to see them. And they've had their struggles, but you see the kind of players that they're bringing up. And Travis Hunter being the recent Heisman winner, his record looks good. But if Deion was to go to the Cowboys, you're not going to have that type of range to try to recruit people. You got to think of free agencies. You got to think of salary cap. You got to think of other players that come to paying them and how they play. I mean, it helps that he was a former Cowboy from 1992 to 1995. I mean, you've been through that era. But I personally think he left on a good note. And I don't think it's right to try to come back after 2 years of being at Colorado. Yes, you've seen much success as growing the program, but I haven't seen a championship. I haven't seen a playoff berth. I haven't seen every time they face real competition, they've crumbled. And it's like their defense just falls. I need to see more progression from him. And maybe he's on like his LeBron journey. He wants to coach with his sons forever. He wants to play with his sons forever. But 9 times out of 10, I don't think Shedeur is going to the Cowboys. There are so many other teams that fell at the bottom of this year in the NFL that he has choices to go to, or maybe some teams may move up to the pick. I think everybody's on the Falcons side of the ball where, drafting a quarterback last year wasn't bad. It kind of came in our favor when Kirk Cousins started losing. But there are a lot of quarterbacks coming in. The Texas QB just declared for the draft earlier today. Then you have other QBs that have declared for the draft over the past 2 days going into the final college football championship. So there are a lot of things, none of them compared to Deion's son, Shedeur, but I just don't think that Deion Sanders has proved enough or stabilized himself enough to stay in a program and really see growth. That's just me. You stayed at Jackson State morally for like 2 years, help that division, and now you're going into your second year with Colorado, then you're going to be in your third season, and there are just some things I feel like as a coach that he just has to pick up on. More wins, more growth of the players, more accolades as to, let's see if we can get some more awards. Let's see if we can get some more players of the week. Let's see if we get some more AP teams of the week. I just need more of that from him, and I think people are getting caught up in his stardom more than in his skill. And I think we need to think about Deion's skill and where he's at more than what he's famous for and what he's done actually for the game of football.
I think all of that is very valid. And I really want to walk this down for like my response, because literally I was telling you this earlier, Arielle, that there was someone that was on Twitter. Like, I'm telling you, on my Twitter, you say, put me on the hot seat after every show. You said it literally since we started doing this back in 2021. Put me on the hot seat. You know what I'm saying? Like, I am on the hot seat and I don't want my seat to be hot. I want my seat to be room temperature. Like, I really don't want it to be hot. Like, people just be coming at me on Twitter over everything, over politics, over NBA, over TV ratings. Like, I'm like, I don't be really trying to argue no more. But so I get sucked into these arguments. And I'll just tweet something and I'll just go on about my day. I'm working, doing other different stuff. And there was this guy today, as we're recording this, that called me a crab in the barrel because I just gave like a real quick opinion on Twitter about how I just felt about the whole entire thing. Right when it was said that, hey, Deion and Jerry Jones had talked. So I said, I don't know if the Cowboys are a great fit, and I don't know if Deion's ready. And some guy, he has like 100 followers. He was like, crab in a barrel. And I'm like, you're calling me a crab in a barrel for my opinion? Then he just went, oh, your opinion is stupid. Like he did his thing at Jackson State in Colorado, XYZ, you're hating. So I want to walk this down of why, just really quickly, why I feel the way that I feel. Because I try my best, and we try our best to have nuanced sports takes, right? So Deion Sanders started coaching at the college level September 2020. And I count that time. I don't count spring, because spring, we could say, hey, he started coaching in February of 2021 when Jackson State played Edward Waters. We could say that, but he still had the responsibility of being a head coach. And that responsibility started in September 2020 in making things happen, right? So he started his coaching journey in September 2020. He coached his first game against Edward Waters in February 2021, right? He went to Colorado in December 2022. He's been there 2 seasons, had 1 winning season at Colorado, had 2. The spring season was okay, but it wasn't Deion's team. He said, get us now, because they weren't all that great, right? So went undefeated in the SWAC 2021, 2022. So that's great. Celebration Bowl, lost both times. Listen, North Carolina Central, that was a dogfight. They could have gone either way. That South Carolina State game, listen, South Carolina State just straight out physical them, right? I'm supportive of Deion as a black coach making things happen. And like we said before, he is forever a part of the HBCU community because of what he did at Jackson State, one of our blue blood institutions when it comes to football. He guided them back to prominence. So I'm not hating on Deion Sanders or saying, oh, he's not good. I said before he couldn't coach, and I stood on that because I felt as if he was early in his coaching journey. He knows a lot of football, but I just saw instances when he was against more adept coaches and his coaching staff was against more adept coaching staffs, such as the Celebration Bowl. They were outcoached. Trey Oliver outcoached Deion Sanders. Buddy Pugh, who had 20 years of experience, outcoached Deion Sanders. He has consistently been outcoached in a lot of these spots, but in the HBCU realm, he had more talent than everyone else. And we know that because one of his talents won the Heisman. There's not a lot of Heisman Trophy candidates outside of maybe Cam Ward. There's not a lot of Heisman Trophy candidates that played in the FCS. The only one I can think of in the recent years is Cam Ward, who was right there and wasn't even close to winning because it was Travis Hunter and Genty. So you had a future Heisman Trophy winner. You have someone's future QB1 on that team. You got Kelvin Coleman. You got all these other different players. You have two guys that were drafted to the NFL from HBCUs when we've not been that successful in getting them in. So you had talent. You out-talented everyone. When it was time for Deion to coach and to really go win a game, it did not happen. Go watch the highlights of the 2022 Celebration Bowl. Look at how gutsy Trey Oliver was called in that game and how it worked. And Deion just didn't really have a counter for it. And Shedeur and Travis talented themselves into that overtime in which they ultimately lost. That wasn't really Deion's fault. Just games happen like that. But they did lose. So at the HBCU level, Deion was out-talenting the field. And we saw moments where he was out-coached, even at Jackson State. So what we said back when he first left and went to Colorado, what we said was that you can't just out-talent people at the FBS level. And we were right. And there was a lot of folks that were in the comments on that YouTube video that we did back in December 2022. First, they were hating on us, and they're like, you know what? They were right. And they'll say, well, Travis Hunter did win the Heisman. Well, Shedeur Sanders was considered one of the best quarterbacks in football. Where you have Jimmy Horn, you have all these players. They were really good, and they were. And I liked how this team was constructed. But still, I don't think that the reason why Colorado won was because they had demonstrably more talent than every team they faced. I just don't believe that. I think that the other teams had prerequisite good talent. I think that the offensive line stepped up for Colorado in the moments that it needed to. I think against North Dakota State, they didn't look great. And also, I believe that against Nebraska, they looked horrible, even though they stepped up in that second half. But the offensive line improved. The offense was speedy. You couldn't catch them. North Dakota State couldn't keep up with them, right? So, like, you go out and watch the game, the receivers were doing amazing. And Shedeur is a great quarterback. Travis Hunter, just on both sides of the ball, dual threat guy. He's making it happen. But I just don't think that the story is that, hey, Colorado was out-talenting these other teams. What I think the story was that sometimes the offense was better than the other team's defense. But sometimes I think they just got out there and you had Shermer, you had like the defensive side. They just went out there and won because sometimes it's not we're better. Because that was always my issue with Deion. We're better than this team. No, sometimes you're not. Y'all weren't better than Oregon when Oregon beat y'all down. You know what I'm saying? Y'all were better than Colorado State, and look what that was. What that happened in 2023. Look what happened. So the whole entire philosophy, we're going to load up on this talent and then just beat people. I just didn't like that approach that Deion took off in the head. And also, I did not like the, hey, if it win, listen, they following me. Oh, if you lose, it's y'all's fault. Y'all need to get it together. Like it was after, I think, was it Kansas when they lost and they didn't get the opportunity to go to the Big 12 championship because they lost that one game. I forgot who it was. I think it was the Kansas. And he would walk around like, hey, y'all need to step it up. Y'all need to step it up. And it's like, do they need to step it up? Like, do they? Because they've looked pretty good recently. So, like, it's just certain things with Deion as a coach that I didn't really like, but they were successful, and I was happy for that. But do I think that Deion should be the coach of the Dallas Cowboys this year? No, I don't. I don't at all. Do I still think that Deion can't coach? I think he can, and I think he's grown since his time at Jackson State. That's been almost 3 years ago at this point. I think he has grown, and we've seen it. And Deion's strength has always been recruiting and has always been building a culture. That's always been what Deion has done successfully. Now, do I think he's just a tactician? Do I think he could just tell his offensive coordinator, this is what we're going to do? And he don't have to always do that, but I don't think that he has that capacity at this point. And I think there are some game management situations that I didn't really like from Deion at certain moments, right? But I think he had a fine season this year, and there was improvement and incremental improvement we saw back last year, like back in 2023. But here's my thing with Deion, though. So going on probability, I'm a logic guy. We expect for Deion Sanders, who, number one, has never won a bowl game. And yes, we count the HBCU bowls, because folks gonna be like, he only lost one bowl game. He lost 3. He only lost one bowl. He lost the Alamo Bowl. He lost 3. Because we also going to count South Carolina State, and we're going to count North Carolina Central. We're going to count those, all right? So I'm looking at this list from the Ringer, right? So the college to NFL coaches since 2000, okay? You got a few names on here, right? So Jim Harbaugh is back. He's with the Chargers, and they lost real bad to the Texans, okay? But Jim Harbaugh, he led his team to the Super Bowl. He led them to the Super Bowl, the Harbaugh Bowl, where the Ravens won. He did his thing. He was successful, and he went to Michigan, right? Came back. They were okay this year. So that's a former college coach that was successful, right? They got Bill O'Brien, 50.9% win percentage. But Nick Saban, 46.9%. Chip Kelly, 44%. Cliff Kingsbury, who's now the offensive coordinator with the Commanders, 43%. I'm going to go down to Matt Rule, 28%. Urban Meyer, who is this great college coach. He's on Big Noon Kickoff. Urban Meyer, they ran him up out of the Jacksonville, and they probably should have. He was going crazy in Jacksonville. We won, 15% of his games? 15%. And these are coaches, especially Nick Saban, that I would say at this point that they're better coaches than Deion. And I don't think it's wrong to say that. And they didn't succeed in the NFL. All I'm saying is this. All I'm saying is the NFL is a different game. In college football, Deion is the man. He runs that program, and he's going to do whatever he want to do. He can hire his coaches. He has this money that Colorado is going to afford him to go get coaches. He can go into these houses and recruit these guys that play with him in Madden. The parents love Deion. They saw him, play in the World Series, saw him play in the Super Bowl, saw him high stepping. And saw what he did at Jackson State. They loved it. Saw the 60 Minute specials. They loved it. They saw the Heisman Trophy presentation, and they saw that Travis Hunter won. They see what Shador is doing. He's able to bring in guys that want to play for him. No, we're not worried about NIL. We want to play for Deion Sanders, right? That's not the same thing. You said it, Arielle. It's not the same thing in the NFL. You is not going to these folks' house say, hey, man, you want to play for me? I'll get you to the next level. They at the next level. And currently, the Cowboys suck at the next level. They suck at the next level. Let's be for real. They suck at the next level. Like, the Packers beat them down, and they didn't even make it to the dance this year. So, hey, man, we gonna get it, man. We gonna get Travis is here. Like, no. You have to deal with the roster that you have, and it's not, it's recruiting, it's transfer portal season. You have free agency, and you have a salary cap. You have college football, NIL, they got a salary cap. It is not the same. You're dealing with tens of millions of dollars, and for some, hundreds of millions of dollars across multiple years. So if you want to go get Justin Jefferson, who said deuces, he might want to leave, want to leave Minnesota, okay. We want to go get Justin Jefferson, that's fine. But do you have money in the salary cap? Do you have the money to get him? You want to go get so-and-so? You want to go get Derrick Henry? Do you have the money to go get the Derrick Henry? Well, hey, guess what? The Dallas Cowboys did, but guess what? Jerry Jones and them didn't want to go get Derrick Henry, and what are he doing? He up there in Baltimore making it happen. So now you got Jerry Jones. Well, I don't think you want to really pay that money for Derrick Henry because we don't know how good he'll be because he's 30, he's older, we don't know. You're going to have to deal with that at the NFL level. Listen, that's all I'm saying. All I'm saying, Arielle, to these folks is that it's a different game. He's doing his thing in college. There's people that have come from the college ranks that have not done well. Stay in college. The Dallas Cowboys definitely ain't where you need to go. Stay in college. Be successful. They're going to worship you. You got a prime video show. These folks going to come play for you. You got all this attention. Don't go to the Cowboys and then all the folks in the media that love you, they're going to start criticizing you. I'm done with my rant. I'm done with it, Arielle. What do you think? I'm done with my rant.
You don't. You're not. There's nothing wrong with what you said, and you're not wrong. Now, I do want to point out before everybody's like, oh, y'all think Deion Sanders is worried about the salary cap. He's played in the NFL before. So, yes, we're not going to be naive like Deion Sanders doesn't know how the NFL works. He doesn't know, especially in this time and age, people want to be paid for what they're worth. I'm going to pay Justin Jefferson what he's worth. I'm going to pay Saquon Barkley, which I'm so mad he didn't play in this last regular season game. I really, really wanted him to do it, but respect. You're going to pay him because he produces. You are going to pay your players what they produce, just for me. But the only two things that are blocking you from doing what you're doing, unless you think you're that close to Jerry Jones, is Dak Prescott, because Dak Prescott can get whatever he wants out of Jerry Jones. So you actually have to deal with him and match his salary if you think you ever want to get anything, and you have to argue with a grown man, because Dak Prescott is not going to cut his QB salary for you to go chase anybody else. He's not going to do that. So your best chances are the draft. And Jerry Jones ultimately is your worst enemy, because when it comes to drafting, to me personally, if he did have to go, yes, you already have a QB. Shador's not playing, and I don't think Deion Sanders is going to fall for that if Shador decides to go to the Cowboys. He's not playing for that. I'm not waiting 5 years to play under Dak Prescott. 2, you already have Ezekiel Elliott. What I think people should go do is go get Arizona State University running back Skidaboo, because he gave Texas for a run for their money. And Skidaboo, if you don't go to the Cowboys, please come and make a 3-line on the Falcons, because I would love to use you, man. You get down to dirty. Just come and go ahead and be our 3rd running back. We gonna use you. I promise you. We just line it all up. That's all I gotta say. Travis, you too. Because if Travis doesn't go second, and if the Falcons are smart and trade up because you already have your QB, we'll take him too. If you're really a big fan of Deion, come play for the Falcons for real, because that was a legacy that nobody needs to forget. But back on that purpose, those are your 2 things. If Deion does decide to go, you gotta fight a grown man, and you gotta fight this GM / the owner. Everything is sweet, so you got to put stuff on paper. So it's just one of those things that there's a lot of complications. And you're right, this isn't college. I can't get them off of NILs. I can't get them off of the transfer portal. I can't do all of this stuff. There is no freedom, and Deion likes his freedom, and I don't think he's willing to give that up yet. But there have been other coaches that I think personally deserve the position more than Deion Sanders did. But if we really want to talk about people that deserve it, let's talk about Texas. Texas, Steve Sarkisian has been going off, regardless that they lost to Ohio State in kind of a bad beatdown. I mean, they came back, but it wasn't that bad. He's been showing miles of improvement since he's been at Texas. So I wouldn't mind seeing him go into the NFL. But if we want to talk about teams with head coaches that haven't seen themselves that long in that college space, let's talk about Marcus Freeman from Notre Dame. 2021, and has been piling on the accolades, has been bringing them back to tight end university, because Notre Dame has the best tight ends that they have ever produced out of college football. They're getting back into that sector where they're dominant. We forgot that Notre Dame used to run college football way back in the early 2000s, capping at 2005, going into 2007. Alabama wasn't always, neither was Georgia, always set on those champions. Notre Dame ran it for a long time. And now we're looking at Marcus Freeman back-to-back quarterfinal appearances, and now he's about to be in the championship game. Only been there for 4 years, going into his 6th season. Out of this, if they do decide to win, this man is worthy. I believe just only being there for 4 years, growing on a 5th, he has proven himself more than Deion Sanders. I think, and I firmly believe, it's not that Deion Sanders has gotten better, But I think when it comes to personally making choices as a coach for himself, because you are the head coach, most of the plays, you're like the president. Everybody else can help you, but you have the last say. I think I need a little bit more from him when it comes to coaching and making those right calls. Everybody has a bad call, but I think he just needs a little bit more experience. There are other coaches out there that have gone through these interim programs that somehow they think Deion Sanders can skip. Like, he doesn't have to go as an interim coach. Like, he doesn't have to study anywhere because he played the game. Or they think, maybe we can just skip him around. He did Jackson State, and then he was a high school coach before that. And then now he's at Colorado. Yes, he has at least 5 or 6 years of coaching under his belt, but he hasn't stayed anywhere too long to really see what he looks like. And everybody, that's a problem. He's winning games, he's getting the recruitments, he's looking good, he has a Heisman winner, but can he stay in a program for more than 5 years, produce a championship, or at least produce a bowl game, or produce consistent playoff games? Let's get there first. If he can do it in the next 2 years, which will be 4 years at Colorado, if he can do that consistently or do one of the two, at least make the playoffs or at least have a bowl game win, or at least have a college football championship win. If he can do that, fine, let him leave. But I have not seen anything in his repertoire and his resume that I don't think people are really getting, that he needs time. Deion Sanders is not outside of time, and that's okay. Even Nick Saban never said, so just put it out there, Nick Saban never said that Deion Sanders wouldn't be a good fit. But when they talked to him about retirement and going to the NFL, he said that is a different ball game. You're coaching grown men. Sometimes grown men don't want to listen. You're working in salary caps. You're working with different attitudes. You're working with bigger dudes. You're working with more injuries. And you can't just go and pick the players that you want. In college, there's a little more freedom. And he enjoyed that. He enjoyed being on top of the world. And I think Deion Sanders and Jerry Jones and anybody else that is a college football coach who wants to transition back outside of Harbaugh, he is literally diamond in the rough. Just so happens that he could come back after jumping back out and have somewhat of the success that he had with the Chargers this year. That's an anomaly. That is not normal. But I think Deion Sanders should consider that. Unless God calls him, like he loves to say, hey, it's time for you to go to the Cowboys. Specifically, I personally don't think the Cowboys would be a really, really good fit for you just because of the coaching problems, and I don't want them to kick you after your first year and ruin your good reputation of what you have right now as a coach. I think anywhere else that you could build a team, if you want to try the Jaguars, I'm actually not mad at that. I wouldn't mind seeing him at Jacksonville Jaguars if they ever decide that we might want to make some stuff work. If he maybe wants to see as the offensive coordinator for the Texans. Or maybe if he wants to go down the Commander, see what they're talking about, because Jaden Daniels is only going to go up from there. I don't mind him jumping around to those kind of teams. But the Dallas Cowboys, to me, is just an Achilles heel. I think you're setting yourself up to fail. And I also don't think that you're personally ready to tackle on the less freedom that you would have as a college coach. That's really it.
Exactly. And I think the thing that's so amazing about college football is that, and really college athletics in general, but I would say specifically men's and women's college basketball and college football, is it's a free-for-all. And people want to make it complicated when it comes to paying the athletes, because they've always needed to be paid. And yet NIL gets murky, and it is odd to see on On3, this player has received $4 million per year to sign with so-and-so. It's very odd to see that. But at the bare bones of it, you have a coach, you have a coaching staff, they recruit their regions, they recruit a specific state, and they go out and they try to get the best players they possibly can from that area. Like, that's just simply what it is. With Deion at Jackson State, it was an advantage because it's an HBCU, it's Deion, and a lot of these players, truth be told, and I believe Deshaun Jackson, for example, and I'll say this too, and I didn't share this on air, but when Michael Vick, before he became Norfolk State's coach, he has been around the HBCU realm. I actually got a chance to meet Michael Vick at the National Association of Student Affairs Professionals Student Leader Institute. It's a summer, it's also like a start of summer type situation after the school year. It's like end of May to early June. We were at Savannah State, and the student leaders that are orientation leaders, their Greek members, their SGA presidents, some royal court members. We would go up to Savannah State and we would stay there, and it's a bunch of development opportunities, networking opportunities amongst student leaders, right? So they always go big with NASAP, and they brought Michael Vick in. It was a surprise. Everybody was so excited to see Michael Vick. Michael Vick got up there and said, I wish I went to an HBCU. And in my mind, I'm like, Michael Vick, stop lying. You went to Virginia Tech, and you drafted number 1 overall to the Falcons. Man, you want to go to HBCU. Now he's a coach. Now I'm like, you know what? I actually believe you now. Deshaun Jackson said, I actually want to go to an HBCU, but I was such a highly touted recruit. I went to another school, but I would have loved to go to the HBCU. There's a lot of players that have made it that said, man, the HBCU, that's where I really wanted to go. So when Deion was at Jackson State, that was a permission structure to say, well, I know that HBCUs, they have this bad perception of HBCUs, some of these players. Oh, they're so low resource, we this and that. But Deion's there. So if I go there and ball out, the media going to be watching. Deion tapped in, so I can go and Deion will get me tapped in. And that's a possibility, right? So he had this star power that drew people from all around the nation to want to come play for Jackson State and really consider playing for Jackson State, right? At Colorado, you still have the media attention, and you have him at Colorado, a program that was moribund, that he helped in elevating from 4 games to 9 games this year and a bowl game appearance, right? And then it was real conversation about Colorado being in the college football playoffs. It was real conversations about Colorado being in the Big 12 championship their first year back in the conference. So there's advantages that Deion has with the media exposure, the way that college coaches are celebrated, the way that the media can still rally around him saying, hey, he's helping out young men. He's helping them and developing them to become a young man. Deion had his players at Colorado, the team average was above a 3.0. I think that's the first time in like Colorado history, I believe. And I could be wrong on that, but the team got at a 3.0. So we can say Deion is building young men, getting them ready for the next level in life, whether it's professional football, the NFL, UFL, or they go become coaches. They go become doctors, lawyers, media members like us. They can say that, and they're consistently saying Deion is so great, and then people want to go to Colorado. They want to sew into him. Coach Prime documentary, I'm watching it. It's amazing. That changes in the NFL because, yes, in college football, they've been trying to fire Ryan Day for the past month. I think he's safe. Okay, he's safe now. They've been trying to fire Ryan Day for the past month. Okay, and Shannon Sharp was about to square up with Kirk Herbstreit because Kirk Herbstreit called first take out. He was like, don't mention my name. And it's like they've been trying to fire Ryan Day for the past month. So it happens in college football. But in professional sports, like I'm telling you, like you'll win like 9 straight games, and then you lose 1 game by a field goal. Does Deion Sanders really have it? Has he lost control of the locker room? Because that's just the nature of professional sports. And you're dealing with so many different variables. And you said something very interesting. You said that you're dealing with grown men. And yes, and then you have your younger men that are still men that are 18 to 22 and maybe a little bit older that you sort of have a power play with, right? You're in this position of power where it's like, listen, I'm in the Hall of Fame. I'm one of the best cornerbacks of all time. I did my thing. I'm the man. I got millions of dollars. I got TV shows. I got a show on Tubi right now. That's great. I got a show on Tubi right now where Roxy did. Shout out to Roxy for 1 second part. I got a show with Roxy Diaz. Okay. So it's like, I'm the man. You want to be where I'm at. So don't you want to listen to me to get where I'm at? A lot of folks be like, yes, I do. I'm going to lock in. And they lock in. Right. But the NFL is like, man, I make like $30 million a year. I ain't listening to you. Like, you saw Deontay Johnson, how he's bounced from 4 teams. He was with the Panthers. He was with the Ravens. And as Raven fans, we were like, man, Deontay Johnson, we got wide receiver 3 because Flowers is number 1 option. Then Bateman is great. But now we got Deontay Johnson, man, Super Bowl. Then Deontay Johnson don't even want to come into the game. We release him. And he goes to the Texans, and it's the same thing. And the Texans didn't need him because they ended up winning. So now they go to the next round. Deontay Johnson, like he might join Deion coaching staff with the Cowboys. He might become a coach at this point because he ain't going to another team. So it's stuff like that. So let's say God told him, Deion, Randall and Arielle are right. Okay, go listen to that show. Because you need to stay. You need to stay there a little bit longer. And it is like 2027. Let's say he became the coach of the Jaguars. Okay, or let's say he was in consideration to be the coach. And we're still doing this show, because we will be. God willing, we will be. And we're like, hey, well, now here's the contingency. Deion is up to be the coach of the Jaguars. And he's been to a college football playoff. He's lost. He finally won a bowl game. They're gonna give me for that. I'm sorry, I had to say that. He finally won a bowl game, okay? But he's won a bowl game. He's been to a college football playoff, and he's consistently, even without Shedeur and Travis, he's still at 3 great teams. That'll be 3. So that'll be 25, 26, and then 27. So it's the end of the 27 season. Do you think at that point, with the extra years, do you think that now he'll be ready to go?
Yes. I'll definitely believe that. Like I said, it's only because I just need to see a college playoff berth. You ain't gotta win. I just need to see you there. And I need to see a bowl game. But you bring up a good point. I need to see you without Shiloh, Shedeur, or Travis. Because 2 of them are your biological sons. 1 of them you have adopted. And that one, Travis Hunter, to me, is more of a legacy than what you could do with Shedeur. Shedeur is your son. He grew up around you. He knew what a quarterback had to do. You have one of the best quarterbacks that played in the NFL as a dad. I'm already there. I've trained with Tom Brady. I trained with Peyton Manning. I've trained with greats all of my life. And I've played with my dad as my coach all of my life. Yes, in that sense, that's good parenting. That's good fathering. But also, he's a good coach to him. And you can kind of take it that way. But, I mean, that's my dad. I want to see, and now, like I said, Travis Hunter, great security, great molding that man and making him the player that he is. I'll give him that. But I need to see more Travis Hunters. I don't want to see any more of your sons. To me, it's kind of the same way with Bill Belichick and Tom Brady. Can you sustain somebody that you had to build up and keep it going? And people are going to be like, yeah, I mean, his sons didn't have to be great. There are a lot of professional football players or basketball players and blah, 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 and their sons aren't great. True. But his sons are great because his dad was great. And they've been all around the world and been great together. You guys got to be great separate. I need you to clarify that without having them, because that's an argument too. He was only great because he has Shedeur. Can you recruit another Shedeur? Can a person that comes after Shedeur be teachable enough? I'm your son. I have to listen to you. You're my parent. I have some kind of respect and loyalty to you, some kind of honor to you. Can you find that out with other players that are Travis, Shiloh, or Shedeur? And we have to see that for 2 or 3 years. And I believe he can do it. I have no doubt Deion can do it. I think it's going to be great when he does do it. But right now, he hasn't. And that's his only thing. He has, I know people are going to hate it. I know he has respect. But you have to hold Deion to the centers that he has something to prove. Deion has to prove to us that he can win outside of circumstances that he built for himself. You literally birthed the greatest quarterback coming out of college right now. You birthed one of the really, really great defensive players, and you adopted one of the best people to play both sides of the ball ever in college football. Ever of all time. Travis Hunter will go down in the NFL Hall of Fame if he decides to go. I guarantee that. I'm speaking that to the existence because that man deserves it. Ain't no other player like him. But you got to do it without them, and I need to see that within the 2 or 3 years that you stay at Colorado. Do not take this. Do not jump off this ship. Stay at Colorado.
Anyway, Arielle, great show. Where can we find you on social media?
You can find me on social media __.modernDayAri, or, give Randall a break and actually put me in the hot seat on X, formerly known as Twitter, at @AskRiri__, or check out my website, ariellekilgore.canva.com.
Like what you hear?
Yeah.
Subscribe to HBCU Pulse Radio on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Also, head to HBCUPulse.com to stay up to date on what's going on in the HBCU community. Thank you for listening to HBCU Pulse Radio.